Okay, Feds is watching. All right. No, just no. I record our meetings and then I post them to our D2L site. So if you are ever unable to attend, one of these Zoom meetings, I just I post the recording. But at the same time, don't say anything that you don't want recorded. All right, but nobody's gonna see this except you all and probably my one follower on my YouTube channel, my one subscriber. All right. Yeah, man. Trying to boost my numbers here. Okay, nobody comes to the English channel though. All right. So yeah, I just want to talk about active reading today, and how to make what we read stick. And just I'll say this again probably 100 more times today, and I'll get us a note on D2L. But our first assignment in Born a Crime is pages 1 through 35. Let me just see if it starts on page 1. It actually starts with this immorality act that is pretty interesting. All right, but the actual text, right, begins on page 6 or page 5, excuse me. But one of the strategies for reading actively is before you even start, reading the text of the book. Okay, get a feel for the book. Um, read the little notes. I don't know if you all can see my book. All right, all right. Read all this stuff. Okay, if your book has this, I know some of the more recent publications don't have this. Um, definitely, definitely try. And this is I put the Trevor Noah module on our D2L page, but this is with anything that you are going to read. Try to find out something about the author. All right. So Trevor Noah, he's a pretty accessible figure. He's a celebrity, so there is material about him out there. All right. In fact, sometimes since I've been like researching Trevor Noah a lot, I get these, how the Google algorithms and stuff like that, it kind of monitors what you're searching for. So now I just get news updates about Trevor Noah, stuff I don't even want to know. Like he just bought a house with his girlfriend. I didn't want to know that or need to know that. All right, but the things that are going to be relevant to us are just items about Trevor Noah's journey. Right, comes from abject poverty and apartheid and post-apartheid South Africa, and he propelled himself, to where he is now. So just knowing something about that journey is going to be to your benefit. Before you start reading this book, also read the back. Okay, what are people saying about this book? All right. You may even just want to Google the title, right? What else is being said about this book? So try to get to know your book because again, just on a practical note, we're going to be living with this book for at least the next 12, 13 weeks. So, it's best to get to know it. Okay. And like I said, again, if your book is looking brand new at the end of the semester, something didn't go right. Okay. So your book should have a significant amount of wear and tear. Like mine, it's already starting to crease a little bit. Like I got writing on most of the pages, and yours, at least with the writing on the pages, and that's what we'll talk about today. Write in your book. Okay, one, you're not going to get any money if you try to sell these books back to the bookstore, and because we only keep them for 3 semesters. So don't try to keep your book all new and pristine. If you have a library copy of the book or rented copy of the book, use sticky notes. Okay, try not to use a separate notebook, and I'll tell you why that is in a little bit here. All right. So now let me see who remembers what. Go to D2L. Okay, I will guide you there, of course, and help you sign in if you need that. But go as far as you can to get signed into D2L. All right. Again, I'll go through the process with you all if need be, but I want to see you go as far as you can. All right. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So we know how to get here, right? We're cool, and then get yourself signed in. All right. And then once you get to the home page, just find our class. I always forget what section we are. We're 1500. There we go. Yeah. All right. So now that we have some assignments, okay, I get some, start posting some updates. So, we just want to change our, like to have something writing oriented. Bam. Okay, we'll use this one. Oh, no, I like this one. Okay. All right. Now, okay, is everyone, let me switch to, where am I? Let me switch to student. So you guys can't see all my secrets. There we go. Okay, now let's go into content. And I made a few updates in this week's module, but I was just finalizing a few things this morning. So here we are. Check out let's go to the week 2 module. Okay, started Monday. Some of the stuff had to be replaced. I saw just with the when I copied my course from last semester, some of the files didn't transfer over for some reason. All right, now, okay, here we go. Okay, let me say something first of all. Some of these slides, they have assignments in them, or they ask you questions about stuff. These are not graded assignments. These are kind of just to do on your own as practice. The only assignments that you all are accountable for are assignments like this. We have another quiz, and then there's a discussion forum. So really things with an active link. Like I can click on this discussion forum and it'll take me right to it. And then if I click the reading questions assignment, it takes you right to it. So if there's a question like in a PowerPoint or something, don't think that counts for a grade. Okay. But here's some material that you can go through on your own, texting, lifting, and comprehending what you read. It's basically, just this practice of reading, reading for understanding. Okay. Same with this one, 8 Habits of Highly Successful Readers. There's a PowerPoint and a PDF, but I want to stop here. Okay. Let's look at this active reading PowerPoint. And again, you can click it right here to open it within D2L, or you can click your drop down arrow here and just go download. And now it's on your computer. Okay. In case you wanted it for whatever reason. So let's look at this thing. All right. And now, my good people, just ask a question. Okay. You can answer in the chat, or you can answer verbally. It is cool. But how many of you, even before because I know we read most of the time now for school because the semester's started, but let's take school out of the equation. How many folks would say that they read every day? Read something. Okay, like I said, you can shout it out, you can put it in the chat, whatever. Okay, how many folks
like
would say they read
book-wise or
every
just
day?
in general?
I try to.
read every single day.
Okay.
Every day too.
Try to every single day. Okay, very good. What are we reading? Like books, texts, because that counts too. Social media stuff.
Well, I
think we
teach.
all read text and social media mostly every day.
I teach, so I read books.
Absolutely. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay. And what we're going to talk about writing a lot in this class, and I'm going to give you some strategies, and I'll give you some ideas for structure and mechanics and all that. But really, your best writing teacher is reading. All right. One, you're learning the material that you're reading. That's becoming a part of you. That's becoming a part of your subconscious. But you're also taking in structure when you read. You're taking in how words fit together, right? And also, here's another thing you may be learning on an unconscious level when you're reading. You're learning things like there, and there, and when to use these words because you're seeing them, right? You're seeing them in action. All right. And that's really, that's why I stress for folks to try to read something every day. Okay, read something. I know it's difficult. We all got a million things going on in our lives, but try to take that time. Try to take some time to read. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning, right? Right when you wake up. Okay. And if you got kids, man, just get up, try to get up before the kids. And I know it can be difficult if you work evenings or things like that, but I think it's one of those things. Just like taking care of yourself, mentally and physically the best way you can. I think reading is one of those things that we should try to make time for. And even if it's just 10-15 minutes a day, right? That goes a long way. All right, but now for our class, we're going to have assigned readings. So now you have to think about your own schedule. We're as I said when I was going over the syllabus, our readings are going to be assigned on Wednesdays, right? So really Monday, you'll see it posted on D2L, but really Wednesday is when they'll be officially assigned. So you'll have from Wednesday to Sunday evening to read 35 to 40 pages. So think about how that breaks down for you. Is that, 10 to 15 pages a day? Or, are you the type of person that, you just want to read it all in one sitting? And I can tell you personally, like I said, and I always keep it real about the books, some I'm into, some I'm not, we just get stuck with them. This is one that I particularly like. And some, when I was first reading this book, I just wanted I wanted to read ahead because I wanted to see what was going to happen. So that's how you're into a book, when you want to when you just want to read to see, like, man, how is this going to play out? All right. So this is an interesting book. All right. But yeah, think about that. Think about when you are going to read, and then think about the where. And when I say where, I know with COVID, our options are kind of limited, but I mean, the where could even be like where in your own dwelling, right? Where in your own residence. Okay. And what I'm saying is, where can you go to focus? Okay. Where can you go to focus? Sometimes it's the bedroom. If it's your bedroom, make sure you're reading in an upright position. Don't. Now, if you're reading to relax yourself, like a magazine or something before you go to bed, reclining is fine. But if you're reading something that you want to retain, or that you want to remember, or that you really want to understand and comprehend, try to read that in an upright position, because if you're laying down, those eyes start to get heavy, and next thing you know, it's 2 hours later and you're still on the same page, right? But you had a good nap, and sometimes that's what you need. All right. So yeah, try to read in an upright position. All right. And this differs from person to person. All right. Personally, I like a little background music, I would say. But when I'm reading, the music I listen to, it doesn't have words. It's probably just some like background ambient noise or something like that. Just to let you know a little bit about me, sometimes I will listen to like like sounds of the ocean, or just just things that kind of put me in a more focused mindset. If your music has words, that's going to be competing for your attention. All right. And I know, like, we often say, we use the word multitasking a lot, but if you really look into research on that, our brains really aren't wired for multitasking, meaning doing two things at once that require our attention. All right, or multiple things at once that require our attention. All right, sometimes we fool ourselves into thinking that we're multitasking, but we're really just going from task to task very rapidly, not doing two things at once. But that leads to a fracture in our attention, is what I'm saying. All right, so if you do like music, or you need some kind of ambient noise or some background noise, just something without words. Okay, that'll work. But again, if you're and I've seen students, they'll be writing a paper, and then they'll write something that they're listening to. I'm like, where did this come from? All right, it seeps into you for whatever reason. And sometimes that can be difficult, right? Like me, I'm a music lover. All right, but yeah, try to get it, try to get a setting where you're, I guess that will facilitate your learning. And that's going to be different for everybody. Like me, if it's too quiet, I need something. Okay, like I said, just some background noise or something. Okay, like right now, I don't know if you all can hear it, but The dogs next door are going crazy. Probably letting their owners know it's too damn cold to be outside. All right. So now, okay, that's the when and the where of active reading. Okay. And those are things that you work out for yourself. Okay. And this presentation gets into the how of it. Okay. Oh, there we go. Can you all, this is still visible for you guys, these slides?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I went full screen.
Yeah.
All right. The first couple slides are just some statistics about literacy. You can go over those yourself, but and some of these are they're old, but they're still the most current statistics. All right. And really just one of the things that stands out to me, and we won't go too deeply into this, but you know, in the United States, right, 36 million adults are unable to read at a third grade level. Okay, 36 million. That's a lot. All right, that's a lot. I think the statistic is like I think like maybe 1 in 4 kids grow up and never learn to read. All right, and unfortunately, like in my own life, I know adults, you know, who just kind of spend their life slipping through the cracks and never learn to read. And I think for those individuals, they sometimes there's shame, so they never learn, you know, when they become adults. But you know, it's never too late to learn anything, right? All right. But I get it, because sometimes we do shame people for whatever reason. And then, you know, sometimes people just slipping through a groove and, you know, they're able to just slip through the cracks. But not being able to read can, you know, be a serious hindrance, you know, to your life. All right. So bam. Okay, there's more reading statistics. You don't have to, we don't go through those. Okay. Now, here's the thing, man, right? Why do all of our teachers make us read? Okay. Because it exposes us to new things. Okay. Exposes us to new things. I'm growing up, my mom, she's a retired teacher now, but she's a teacher throughout my childhood. So she used to make me read, and I used to act like I hated it, but I really liked it because of one. Well, this is one of the reasons. Just exposed me to things that I normally wouldn't, you know, wouldn't encounter. Okay, I'm just trying something new, man. Hopefully this. Oh, nice. Okay, subtitles, very good. Okay, all right. Okay, so exposure to new things. All right, bam. All right, improves your understanding. And when I left that kind of ambiguous, because reading improves your understanding of everything. Okay, of everything. And really, if you look at the way some of the issues that are occurring in the United States right now, some of that is occurring from lack of understanding. All right, of everything. Okay, we can certainly learn from the experiences of others. One of the things that we'll notice as we're reading Trevor Noah's book, you know, we'll see a lot of parallels, you know, to the United States, but we'll also see some things that are different, you know, from the way you know, things operate in the US. So we can certainly learn, you know, from the experiences of others. All right. And sometimes we learn that, you know, while we may appear different on the surface, when we get into a person's experiences, no matter where they're from, sometimes we notice a lot of commonalities. But you know, sometimes we notice those differences, and those are cool too. Okay, those are cool too. All right. Boost imagination and creativity, absolutely, absolutely. Self-improvement, definitely. And I think, you know, most reading, even if it's for school or for whatever, but most reading contributes to our own self-improvement, because when we're reading, we're learning. All right. Let's stop right here. Reading builds empathy. Okay. Reading builds empathy, meaning reading can help us understand the plight of others. And that is so critical. That is so critical. All right. Because I think as empathy increases, judgment decreases, right? Meaning if we look at a person or if we look at a group or if we look at a culture and our first instinct may be to judge it, to judge what they're doing, we have to go beyond that, right? Let's learn. Let's learn some of these experiences. Let's learn why, certain things occur. And then we could say, oh, okay, this is why this has been happening. Okay. And then we can understand the story of others. Okay. So reading certainly builds empathy. Okay. Something that we are in dire need of today. Okay. If you ask me, but I'm just one person, what do I know? And then enhances communication. Absolutely. One of the characteristics of our digital world these days is there's unfortunately there's, and even this has become even more pronounced with the pandemic, but face-to-face interactions and face-to-face communication, um and really I think communication on every level. And this could help us in our personal relationships with our family and otherwise, but on a practical level, communication can help us get that job we want, or help us start our business if we're going that route. Usually when you go for an interview, the first thing they're going to say to you is so tell me a little bit about yourself, and then they're just going to wait, right? And they're waiting because they want to see how you communicate. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And if your answer is well basically yeah, the red flags are going to start going up. All right. So reading can give you the words, to express yourself. Okay. One of the I joke with students a lot about this a lot. I don't even know if people still say this, but I used to joke with students a lot about the phrase, I felt some type of way. And I'm like, man, you always feel some type of way, hungry, cold, but how did you feel? Is really what I'm getting at, right? Or I should say, what I'm really getting at is like express yourself. Don't just say you felt the type of way. How did you feel? Okay, how did you feel? All right. So yeah, reading, it does all these great things for us. Then education, of course. All right. And then here's some barriers to reading. I'll turn it up a notch to go through these kind of fast. All right. Poverty, definitely. Sometimes, people don't have the exposure to reading or access to books. And that is, you can look at the numbers. Having access to books when a person is really young, that makes a difference. All right. Or, sometimes reading just isn't the priority, because it's like, yeah, reading is fun, but we got to put food on the table. Okay. Sometimes that's the priority. All right. Not that's totally understandable. Totally understandable. All right. Language, sometimes English isn't the first language, all right, in the US. And that can be a barrier, to reading, certainly. This was me, past experience. I said my mom is a teacher, she made me read, but for some reason, reading for school, it just never like I could read independently, my mom would put me on the books, I could read those, but for some reason, man, when it got to school and my teacher was like, hey, you need to read this by Friday, I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. Okay. But now, okay. So high school, I was the kind of student, full disclosure, I learned how to slip through the cracks. I learned how to be like, okay, this is what's going to be on the test. Okay, I'll just read that and, get my seat. All right. But, that strategy backfired on me when I got to college. All right. Actually, is why I was a freshman in college twice, because I thought things were sweet when I got there. All right. So don't be this person. I didn't read and still got A's and B's. College, you got to. Okay, you gotta put the work in. Okay. Some people say reading is boring. Sometimes you are reading boring material, but most times people say they're bored, not because they're bored, it's because they're overstimulated. All right. Meaning our phones and other digital technologies. And I'm not down on technology by any means. You know, technology makes our lives better in so many ways, but we have to, you know, police ourselves when we use technology. But sometimes we can be overstimulated because our phones and our technology offer like I can look at my phone now and you know there'll be some kind of update, okay, some kind of news, some kind of notification. So you know we're constantly, or some kind of text, so we're constantly in the midst of, you know, receiving input. So but you know reading involves us, you know, doing the work, because the words don't jump off the page, they just kind of sit there, right? So we have to do that work. So some people will, you know, construe that as boring, but it's like maybe it is boring, but um there's a better chance that, you know, we're a person that's suffering from overstimulation, okay? And if you don't think that's true, um try to spend some time without your phone. Okay, try to spend some time without your phone. Or if you don't spend some time without your phone, try to assess how much time you spend on your phone basically looking at nothing. And when I say looking at nothing, I mean scrolling through social media, not really looking for anything, just kind of scrolling. All right, try to, you know, really calculate how much time you spend doing that. All right, and myself included, because you know, I'm guilty of that as well. So I just have to be mindful of. It's like, why am I picking up my phone right now? I don't want anything, right? I don't have any messages or anything. So yeah, sometimes it's, you know, I'm hesitant to use the word addiction, but you know, there is some research that supports that, since you know our phones do, you know, supply us with dopamine, you know, which is our pleasure chemical in our brains. All right, but that's for you all to research. Okay. All right. So yeah, boring. Okay. Got stuck. Oh, there we go. Yeah, got stuck on the slide. There we go. Motivation. Okay. That's the thing. And you know, now since we're, you know, online and everything is, you know, this class, you know, we Zoom pretty frequently, but you know, a lot of your classes are gonna be, or at least for the pandemic, for the time that we're learning remotely. But you know, self-motivation can be difficult, is what I'm saying. Okay. So motivate yourself. And my suggestion for you, and really for students in general, um, is to keep a calendar. All right. You know, I do have a phone or a calendar in my phone, but I don't know if you all can see, but I, in the corner right there, like I just keep a dry erase board with just the things that I have to take care of, like my classes, my meetings, and all that. All right. But the point of all this is, you know, schedule when you're going to do your reading. Okay. Let's see, you know, I know my work schedule. You know, I'm with the kids, you know, I got to get my family time in, of course. Oh, you know, I'm free, you know, every day from, let's say, from 4 to 5 or whatever. You know, that's when I get my reading in. Okay. So, you know, schedule it. Make a schedule and stick to it, right? That'll keep you motivated. Okay. It's like when you put something down in print, you're more prone to accomplish that thing. Okay. So, you know, whatever you make a schedule. All right. If you struggle with motivation, okay, make a schedule. Also, and this is again just something for students. You know, if you ever lose your motivation, okay, always take it back to square one. Ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I in college? What do I want to get out of this? All right. And then once you resolve that, you know, what do I want to get out of this? Now, what is that going to take? Okay, what is that going to take? In college, right? It's not like high school, at least how high school was for me. Like I was just saying, high school, you know, slipping through the cracks, I can just get my C, you know, play the back of the classroom. But college, you know, I tried that, and you know, I thought I was slick. You know, teachers weren't taking attendance. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm cool. I just show up when I want to. No, college doesn't work like that. All right, college doesn't work like that. And I'm glad I learned that the way I did. But you know, when I after that experience, I was like, all right, man, nobody's gonna be checking up on me to make sure I do my work. That means I have to be that person. So in turn, you have to be that person, because in college, your teachers aren't going to chase you down for assignments. All right. And for a lot of teachers, myself included, the assignments have dates, and when the assignment folder closes, that's that. I don't really do that in this class, but in Comp 1, Comp 2, yeah, unless you have a good reason, get your stuff in, is what I'm saying. Okay, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but it happens. Okay, now here we go. These are some active reading strategies. Okay, and active reading starts before you even get to page 1. All right, before you get to page 1. Okay, and like I was saying, try to find something out about the author. All right, and really, when you're reading more like research oriented materials, the question you should be asking yourself is, why should I trust this person? Why should I trust this person? So know a little bit about their background. All right, know a little bit about who they are, what they've done, their level of expertise, on the subject that they're thinking about. Like if we look at Trevor Noah, we can consider him a worthy, or excuse me, a qualified authority on apartheid, because he lived through it. Okay, lived through it, and then he lived through post-apartheid. So think about that. All right, but now, okay, look at the title. Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. Okay, take all into consideration, and then try to predict. What do you think this book is going to be about? Okay, set your expectations. Okay, and then as you're reading, try to figure out what's going to happen next. And and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but this is the practice of thinking critically. Meaning, when I say predict, it's like you're taking what you know, right? Taking your prior knowledge, and then, okay, based on this, what could logically happen next? All right. And like I said, sometimes you predict right, sometimes you predict wrong. And I think that's one of the great things about reading is, sometimes you get a surprise. Okay. Sometimes you get one of those moments. All right. Yeah. One of my students way back in the day, when we were talking about visualization, he put it perfectly. He said when he reads, he tries to create movies in his head. Okay, that's a good strategy. All right, we know what Trevor Noah looks like. If you don't know, his pictures all over the internet. Okay, it just helps to have these visual cues. Okay, look up some images of South Africa, Cape Town. All right, and some of the other parts of South Africa. Look up, where let me see. There, South Africa, especially during apartheid, was divided. All right. There's the black area, there's a white area, and there's an area like colored. Colored is what they call like biracial in South Africa. All right. Look into some of these areas. Look at some of the disparities. Look at some of the differences between these areas. And apartheid, like race was written into the law, right? Whereas in the United States and early America, that was so. But as we get further down the line, things are like, our racism is more like in practice. We tend to say one thing and do something else. All right. But in apartheid South Africa, things were very clearly stated in the law. If you're black, stay over here. You can only go to these schools. If you're white, you can go to these schools. All right. And if you're colored, you also have certain restrictions, but you have more privileges than the black class. All right. So very clear lines established. All right. And we'll see how it affects Trevor Noah, especially during his childhood. All right. But what I'm saying is, try to, research. Google is great for, bringing up images to help you put like faces to some of these names or put images to some of the places that are mentioned. All right. And then, these next two, connecting and clarifying. And these are all like mental practices that we're going through as we read. Okay. Some of this stuff we're writing down, but for the most part, they're mental practices. All right. And a lot of times they're occurring in your mind, without you saying, okay, now I'm going to predict, now I'm going to visualize. All right. Sometimes these practices just, occur, in your brain. But if they aren't occurring, like if you aren't in the practice of reading, they might be, practices where you have to sit back and reflect and say, okay, let me just think about, based on what I read, what can happen next. And this is something that you'll be saying a lot in this book. Like, man, Trevor got himself into this. Let me see how he's gonna get out, or let me predict, how he's gonna get out of this. All right. Oftentimes I was wrong in those predictions. All right, but connecting is just, what's a connection to, what you've read before, what you already know. Like for our book, the connections I was making personally, and you don't have to make these connect, but they're there. Just the connections between apartheid and racism as it's practiced in the U.S. All right, and there's some key differences, and there's some key similarities. Okay, apartheid, takes its influence from some practices in the U.S., especially during the Jim Crow period, and we'll get more into that as we get further into our book. So connection is connecting between texts, connecting between your experiences, connecting between like issues that are happening in the world. So connection just means that we aren't reading in a vacuum, meaning like we aren't just reading this book for English 1060. We're looking at it, how does this connect to other things in our lives? Same, with questions. Okay. What is the history of apartheid? And you don't have to go into depth about it, but I think again, if you learn just the basics of it, it'll deepen your understanding of the book. Okay. You're also questioning, well, why would this person do that? Okay. Why would this person do that? All right. Why does this group do that? All right. So we're looking at decisions being made in the book. We're looking at practices, being made in the book. If we're reading something that's more research oriented, we're looking at facts. Okay. We're looking at assumptions. All right. Basically, our brains are working as we're reading. And this will be the difference between like reading actively and reading passively. And sometimes that's how we read our social media from a passive standpoint. We just read it. Maybe we're skimming around, right? Which is fine, for social media. Or, maybe we're just reading, an article, right? To pass the time. What I call like what I call like toilet reading. Okay. Maybe you're just reading this while you're taking care of some business. All right, but most people have their phones when they're taking care of that kind of business anyway. That's why if you look at research, man, like our phones are some of the dirtiest things that we own, if we don't disinfect them regularly. I'm not even talking about COVID. I'm talking about just we take our phones everywhere, right? Even in the bathroom. So that was another tangent. All right. Clean your phone. That's what I'm saying. All right. Clarify. Let's say there's something in the text you don't understand. In this book, now a lot of these the definitions for these words are given, whether sometimes they're given like explicitly, here's what this word means. Sometimes they're given like contextually, meaning like if you read around, you'll be able to just discern what the word means. One of the words in our book is like hiding. Like I got a good hiding. All right, but we know this word hiding. We just call it like a whooping or a whipping. Like I just got a whooping. We say I got a whooping, but in South Africa the terminology is hiding. Like, yeah, man, I got the worst hiding from my mom last night. All right, so that was interesting. But look up words you don't understand. Okay, look up concepts you don't understand. Ask questions. Okay. One of the we're going to be using the discussion board in this class. Okay. Ask a classmate. Nothing wrong with that. We would be doing it if we were face to face. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. And then finally, evaluate. Okay. You are evaluating this book in totality. But you're also evaluating, like I was saying before, actions of people in whatever you're reading. Okay. So when we say evaluate, of course, we're looking at the quality of the piece, but we're also looking at, who did what, okay? And predict, visualize, connect, question, clarify, evaluate, okay? These are some great reading strategies. And again, it seems like a lot, but trust me, once we start putting these things into practice, you're just gonna be doing them. All right, and hopefully, you get to a point where it just becomes, automatic when you have to read something actively. Now, all right, boom. Active reading versus passive reading. And then, there's a time and a place for both. There's a time and a place for both. And from an academic standpoint, though, we want to stay mostly in the active reading strategy, in the active reading side. Okay, I won't go over all these because some of these I just went over, but really, reflection and time. All right, and then focus if we go up a few. Okay, focus. All right. Again, like I said, when you're reading, try to only do that. Meaning, like, don't if you have to have your phone out, because I know sometimes you just have to be in touch with people, like a family member or something like that, or your job. That's fine, but keep it face down. That way, if it's vibrating, you can just pick it up then. But if it's face up and you can see it, you're gonna have that temptation to pick it up. All right, and look at it, especially if you get a notification or something like that. So yeah, have it face down. All right. There's another good method called the Pomodoro method. You see, oh, I spelled it right. Okay, very good. The Pomodoro method is you just get a timer, set it for 20 minutes, and you read or you study or you do whatever you're gonna do for that 20 minutes. And that's the only thing you do. All right. That's the only thing you do. You don't pause to look at your phone. You tell the people in your house to leave you alone for these 20 minutes. All right. But you do your 20 minutes, you take a short break, and then you get 20 more minutes. All right. And you can do the research on this on your own if you don't believe me. This strategy is much, much, much more effective than getting your book open and studying for like 3 or 4 hours at a time. All right. Your brain is more receptive to taking in information in like short bursts. So 20 minutes. And this is for reading and like in the future, if you have to study for an exam or something, get your 20 minutes in. All right. I have some more study strategies if you need them. We won't use them in this class, but just let me know by email and I'll be happy to send them to you. But get your 20 minutes in, take a break. Okay. Come back refreshed. Okay. And I've had some students who, sometimes they treat their phone as like a reward, meaning I'm going to put in some work and then I'm going to reward myself by looking at my phone. Okay. But just make sure you don't look at it immediately after you finish reading, because and it goes into our next point, reflection. When you read something, spend a little bit of time thinking about it after you read it. Don't go right into your phone, because you aren't going to retain. All right. So think about it. Okay. Think about it. I tell you, this book, Trevor Noah, excuse me, Born a Crime, it made me reflect on my childhood a lot, but it also made me reflect on like just issues dealing with race and racism, and how there's connections between South African apartheid and things that have occurred and still occur in these United States. All right. So that's what I mean by reflection. When you read, don't just put your book away. All right, I'm done. Because you're not going to remember like that. All right. Spend some time thinking about it. And for this class, we're going to have to, because we have reading questions. But, you know, in the future, you know, spend some time thinking about, you know, what you read after you've read it. And I think in with all things that we want to produce, that we want to do to produce a certain result, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Okay. Learning is not instant in most cases, especially when it comes to like reading and writing. So, you know, college, man, this is an old cliche, but it's certainly true in college, right? You get out what you put into it. So if you're only spending, you know, a few minutes, or if you're doing everything at the last minute with your work, you know, then that's the results you're gonna get. So, you know, it goes back to what I said before about making a schedule. All right, put the work in. Okay. And really, you know, you've already invested the money in this class, you know, whether it's financial aid, you're paying out of pocket, or you got some kind of scholarship or whatever. You've already made the financial investment. So now it's time to make that personal investment. Okay. Where you invest some time, right? And energy. Okay. Sometimes it involves sacrifice. Okay. And here's some passive strategies. I'm just gonna go to highlight. Okay. Sometimes we highlight or underline, and you got to go beyond that, because that's you're not really, it's not, you're not really showing understanding, right? So if you underline something or if you highlight something, put a note next to it. Why? What about this passage stood out to you? What made this, what made this passage noteworthy? All right. And if you're a big writer, meaning like you're right, you have huge handwriting, okay, sticky notes. But for the most part, um, let me see if I can I'll show you when I get to the next slide. So yeah, do more than highlight. Highlighting is okay, but go beyond that. Only highlighting is not okay. Only highlighting or only underlining, not okay. And we have a midterm in this class in a month or so, maybe 2 months. All right. But our midterm is just, you get this article and you're taking notes on it. So, and the way we practice that, and the way we find an annotation strategy that works for us, practice, practice. Okay. What works for you? Okay. There are formal strategies of annotation where it's like coding and things of that nature. But, you know, there's also, I use an informal form of annotation. I'll show you some of my notes in a second here. All right. So highlighting now. Okay. Trying to read the material too fast. Now it's not going to work for you. All right. Reading while distracted, certainly not going to work for you. Okay. So let's try to stay in the active category instead of the passive category. All right. All right. This is kind of you know what, this is what I wanted to see. I just bypassed the slide, but it pretty much is just a rehash of material that we already discussed. And here is a book, and I'm going to show you. I don't know if you all can, how good my camera is. Well, here's some notes I took in my book. Okay. If you guys can't read my handwriting, that's okay. Why? Because your annotations are for you. Okay. So I can read my little chicken scratch handwriting, and sometimes I'll just write notes. You know, sometimes I'll annotate an entire passage. All right. You guys probably can't see that. All right. And for me, I just look at, you know, things that stood out to me. Maybe there's a word or words or a turn of phrase that really resonated with me for whatever reason. Maybe there's something I agree with, something I disagree with. You know, maybe there's a word I don't know. Yes, teachers, we still have to look up words. All right. Yeah, so that's my strategy for annotation. And again, this practice started many years ago, so it took a couple go rounds for me to figure out, you know, what I liked, or what worked for me and what helped me remember. All right. But annotation is a critical part of this class. Now, if this was a face-to-face session, I would actually be physically looking at your books every day, or at least every Monday when we come to class. But now, you know, I'm just trusting that you are taking notes in your book. Okay, don't do it for me. Don't do it because Professor Norwood has assigned it. Do it because it's going to help you remember. It's going to deepen your understanding of the text. Okay. And let's look at, you guys can't see mine because the I guess it's kind of small. And always annotate in pen. And that's because sometimes pencil, what is this, January, we just started, like around, the end of March, April, you may not be able to see your pencil annotations from like the early parts of the book. So, get a nice pen, get a good fine point pen. No, it doesn't have to be fine point, but I find that fine point, it just helps me write a little bit smaller. All right, so look at some of these notes, right? Foreshadowing. Okay, this student asks a question, and you can see there is some highlighting here, but it goes way beyond highlighting. This student uses a color code, right? If you look at the key, on top, I just pointed to it like you guys can see what I'm pointing to. All right, there's the key here. All right, there's notes, next to next to the highlighting. And I keep using this word annotation. Annotation just refers to taking notes in the margins. Okay, it's not, taking notes on a separate sheet of paper. It's taking notes in the margins of whatever you're reading. Okay, and some of the material, like in your books, you're going to annotate by hand, or if you're using a Kindle version of the book or some other kind of digital version. All right, I know Kindle has a note function that you can use to annotate, and like I actually like, because it's a lot neater. And the same thing with Microsoft Word. I'll show you how to take notes, using that as well when we have to do our midterm. All right, but this is a practice that I want us all to adopt, taking notes in your book. Okay, and here the student just asks a question, right? I'm looking at the second note on my left. How does he know A's name? Okay, so the student just had a question. All right, now, like I just said, your notes are for you, right? So don't think because I have a note next to something, you have to have a note, or you have to have the same note. Maybe you saw it differently than I did, or maybe you saw it differently than your classmate, but think about how you're going to get your notes in. Okay, what I'm saying is, one, when you're annotating, always go for quality over quantity. So like this student has a lot of notes on these 2 pages. On the next page, the notes may be sparse, right? So don't think you have to have a note like next to everything, because you don't. Okay, so go with quantity over, no, go with quality over quantity. Okay, first, and sometimes, more annotation, one of those things where, more isn't always better. And like I said, sometimes you'll have pages that are full of notes, and then sometimes you'll just have pages where, there aren't many notes. One of my notes is just an exclamation point. And for me, in my own system of coding, if I have an exclamation point next to a paragraph, that just means important. And really, if you want to get in real detail about it, it's something I will probably ask, you all, my students. All right. I also have to put notes next to something I'm going to put in a reading question, or things like that. So when you're taking your notes, just think about it. Okay, mark words you don't know. All right, mark ideas you agree with, you would disagree with. Okay, mark things that align with your experiences, that don't align with your experiences, that connect, with material that you've read in the past. All right, so keep thinking about that. And does annotation slow you down? Yeah, that's one of the goals, to get you to slow down, because you're engaged in this process of critical thinking, as you're reading. All right, so yeah, think critically about the material as you read it. Okay, and that may involve, stopping to reflect on certain ideas. That's fine. Okay, in fact, that's preferred. Okay, in college, right? One thing that I say to students all the time is, college, you don't get points for speed. Meaning there's no special reward for being the first one done, or saying, hey, Professor Norwood, I did all my reading in 45 minutes. Okay, there, like, you don't get anything for that. I would, and to be honest, I would much rather hear a student say, like, man, Professor Norwood, it took me a while to get this reading in. I even had to go back and reread some stuff. I'm like, yeah, good. Okay, that's how it should be. All right. And when we do our common essay, the essay about the book, your notes are going to play into that heavily, because instead of going back to reread material, you can then go back and reflect on your notes. It's the same thing with our impromptu essay at the end of the semester. You'll be able to use your book, and you'll have a much, much, much easier time if you have notes in your book, because then you're just going to be flipping back to your book, trying to find quotes and, things of that nature. So take notes, please take notes. Okay. And it might seem awkward at first, but you'll develop a style after a while. Trust me. Okay. Here's something about highlighting, and how highlighting can sometimes work against you. Okay. It draws attention to individual facts. It may hamper the process of making connections and drawing inferences. Sometimes highlighting prevents you from seeing the bigger picture. All right. Only highlighting is what I'm saying. If you are a highlighter person, that's cool, but take notes in addition to highlighting. If you're only highlighting, you really aren't doing much beyond changing the color of what's in your book. All right. So go past highlighting. Go past highlighting. Don't have your book looking like grandma's Bible. All right. Even though grandma's Bible, she has some interesting things highlighted probably, but that's not what we're going for in our books. Okay, here's some things to annotate, if you need, this pointer. All right. Claims that you find questionable, definitely words and phrases that you don't understand. All right. This one, draw a line. You don't have to do this one. This is a lot. But this one now, note page numbers if you are connecting ideas that appear on different pages. That's something you can do. Like if you're reading something on page, 136, it's like, oh, this is just like that thing on page 77. Okay, or this is more of what happened on page 77. Okay, things that we should be looking at in our book, right? Just to give you a little spoiler for the future, right? Look at how growing up in poverty and apartheid and post-apartheid, affected Trevor Noah's childhood. Okay, and then also look at, he sort of has this he has an interesting relationship with his mom, and she, as a kid, sometimes they would talk like as adults, if that makes any sense. All right, but I think, and Trevor's mom, she showed him some tough love, a lot of times, but I think through it all, she often showed him like the depth of her love. Okay, even though it was sometimes in some non-traditional ways, I guess. But those are things that you can mark out in your book. Okay, how Trevor Noah's mom, showed her care for him, and then how poverty, apartheid, affected Noah's childhood. These are just like common themes in the book I'm giving. All right. Difficult to understand sections that need a closer look, definitely. Go back and reread this stuff, or ask a question. Okay, and then make comments based on your understanding. Okay, sometimes the comment is something that's in depth, and then other times the comments are like, damn, that was messed up. Okay, so that's up to you. Just don't have all your comments like, damn, that was messed up. Okay, because that's not really showing your understanding. Okay, now these are some specific connections that you can make in your text. And like I said, if you don't have your own strategy for note taking, try using some of these. Text to self, text to text, and text to world. Text to self, text to text, text to world. And a text to self connection is basically you're asking the question, like, how do the ideas in the text relate to your own life? Okay. Oh, Trevor's mom, Patricia, she acts just like my mom. Okay. Oh, Trevor went to high school and did this, and that. I did that too. Okay. Or it can be different. You know, I grew up in, you know, I went to a diverse school when I was growing up. You know, that's totally different from Trevor's experiences. Okay. So it's things like that. That's a text to self connection. All right. And these are some ways to get your notes started. Okay. What I just read reminds me of the time when I agree with that because I don't agree with because, and then so on and so forth. So that's a text itself. How does this relate to me in my own experiences? And then text to text, how does this relate to, something you read before? And when I say text, could be a movie song as well. Okay. Oh, this passage reminds me of A Long Way Home. That was a book we read a million years ago. Because, or Wayne is from this book we read like 10,000 years ago in this class. All right, Wayne is a lot like, Abel. I won't say who Abel is if you haven't read it. All right, Wayne is a lot like Abel because X, Y, and Z. Okay, so what's the connection to stuff you've read before? All right, and then text to world. My students did some great text to world connections last semester with our book. All right, meaning like related to some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of global issue, or it could be an issue in your own community. Okay. What I read makes me think about, the Jim Crow period in the United States because X, Y, and Z. All right. So think about, making these kinds of connections if, you're still developing your own system of annotation. Even if you're not, these are good connections, right? And these are all part of active reading. Okay. Now, summarizing, we won't go through that. We don't really need that just now. All right. So in essence, okay, let me just exit my slides here because this was the last one. All right. Yeah, the last one's always my favorite. Okay, hopefully everybody's still alive. All right. Active reading is just this combination of strategies that we use to increase our understanding and help us retain what we read. And retaining just makes it stick. So understanding and retention, right? Understanding and retention. And I know you've probably heard this before, and if not, you will hear it many times. But a sign of understanding is you being able to explain something to somebody in your own words. Okay, that's how you know you understood something. Okay, when somebody says, "Oh, run that back to me again," and then you can put it in your own words. Okay, now we won't be doing that orally because we only have a limited amount of time, and Zoom meetings I have to just there's a different level of efficiency I have to strive for in Zoom meetings. But that's why we have reading questions to get you in that space of discussing the book in your own words. Okay. Man, that was a good segue, Professor Norwood. Because if we look in the week 2 module, all right, there's our first set of reading questions. Okay. But even before we get to these reading questions, I'm going to get to these reading questions instructions. Now, a couple things about reading questions. The first thing about reading questions is reading questions are not busy work. Meaning, I do not give you these questions just to keep you occupied. I do not give you these questions just to check up and say, hey, let's see who's doing the reading. I don't do that. Okay. That's, what, to be honest, whether you read this book or not, it's on you. Okay. It's on you. All right. Again, college, nobody's making you do anything. All right. But, if you want to pass this class, you better read that book. All right. Now, okay. So they're not busy work, right? They're not me checking up on you. The reading questions are geared to help you get in this practice of discussing in your own words. So you'll often see reading questions that begin with the word discuss or explain or what's the connection between. All right. And when you have, and this is just not just in this class, but in any class. Okay. When a question begins with explain, your teacher or whoever's giving you these questions, they're looking for more than one sentence, or they're looking for more than one just quick answer. All right. And let's bring this up. Okay. Again, you can click it and nothing happens. Okay. Let me adjust this real quick. Give me 1 second here. I had to go back through all my modules just to make sure all my stuff transferred over. Going to one of my old classes. All right. All right, now we're talking. Okay. If you all refresh your page, that should be active for you all. I'm gonna go back into student view real quick. All right, there we go. Okay, now if we go back to these reading question instructions, now we click it. There it is. Okay. Again, I'm just gonna go download, but eventually, the reason I download a lot of stuff, sometimes it takes forever. Okay, here we go. Now, your reading questions are due Sunday evening. Okay, Sunday evening. 11:59, but I just set the assignment folder for midnight. Okay, we had a short week this week, but usually they'll become available on Monday. All right, now here are just some guidelines, and this document is available for everyone, so please follow this guideline. Okay, reading questions are designed to get you in the practice of discussing our text and writing. Use this exercise to engage the text and enhance your comprehension. See the text tips below for further guidance. 1, respond to the questions completely. Okay, a lot of the questions have multiple parts, so yeah, try to answer all of them. Try to answer all of them. Okay, that one's easy though. This is what I was saying before about going beyond like one sentence or one word, or just trying to answer as fast as quickly as you can, because that's not going to help you. And I'm not just saying that, like it really, the measure of that is when we do our common essay, because the students who have really been putting the effort or really been fleshing out their responses and their reading questions, when we have to write the common essay about the book, they're already in the practice of writing about the book. But if you're just going to get these done, or going for the idea of getting these done as fast as possible, then there's going to be a struggle when you actually have to flesh out an idea. So practice. Okay, you don't have to write an essay for every answer, of course, but you certainly have to go beyond like one sentence. Okay, so not finally, but don't retype the questions. Don't waste your time retyping the questions. Don't retype the questions. Okay, I said that. I know I repeated that, but I just want to make it clear. You do not have to retype the questions, but put the question in the answer. And an example of that is this: why does Trevor Noah's mother refuse to leave South Africa even in the face of apartheid? Okay, that's the question. When I say put the question in the answer, what I mean is, if the question is why does Trevor Noah's mother refuse to leave South Africa, the answer could begin, Noah's mother refused to leave South Africa because. Okay, don't just start like this though. Because, because she blah, 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 blah. Okay, I won't give the answer away. So practice putting the question in the answer. Don't just start off because. Okay. Ooh, yeah. This next one. Save yourself some time. Save yourself some time. Okay. Again, my people, my good people, my students. Okay. This is what you're going to do before you start every assignment. And some students in the past, they just get a document like this and they just save it. Now remember, folks, on D2L, there is a video of me doing what I'm doing now, meaning like setting up a page. Setting up a page in not Times New Roman, but in Times New Roman is our font, but setting up a page in MLA formatting. Okay, now you're ready to go. You can use bullets or numbers, that's up to you. But do separate your answers though. Okay, now my good people, please, 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 please get yourself in the habit of setting up your work properly. Okay, name, instructor name, class and date to the left, last name, page number to the right. All this is spaced evenly. Okay, no extra spaces. All right, and let me just slide back into D2L real quick. Bam, go in this MLA documentation resources, boom. Click on this video. It works. Okay, now this video is me doing what I just did. Okay, and MLA format. I don't know. Okay, yeah, this is it. All right, this document is here also. I'm just gonna bring this up. Okay. Again, same thing. All right, name, instructor name, class, and date. Got your title. You can just call it reading questions, and then this is how you get your last name, page number up there. All right, but again, get yourself in the habit of practicing formatting. That's key, because I get when we first start, there's going to be some stumbling. I totally get that, especially if you've never done this before or haven't done it in a long time. But by fourth or fifth week, let's try to make this routine where we're setting up our papers right, and formatting isn't even an issue. All right, so yeah, make sure you're setting up your papers properly. All right, that's the that's the gimme stuff. When I say gimme, it just means like stuff we should be, like I said, it should start to become a routine, after a while. Name, instructor name, class, and date, last name, page number. Okay. Yeah, so format your paper properly. Then use your own words. Okay, use your own words. Don't copy from the book. Do not copy from the book. Do not copy from the book. Why? Because that's not helping you. If you are going to use a quote in your answer, which I don't prefer, or excuse me, which I prefer that you not do at least for the first couple reading questions. I want us to get in the practice of using our own words. But if you are, just make sure you use a citation and quotation marks, meaning set it up properly. I will formally, go over how to quote properly, but for the first 1 to 2 reading questions, just practice using your own words. But here's an example of how to do it. Okay, our book, right, is rated, I would say this book, is rated PG-13. Might be rated R. I know in a PG-13 movie you get one F-bomb. Okay, you can say it once and still be PG-13, but if you say it more than once, okay. Yeah, there's a couple F-bombs in that book, so we'll say it's rated R. All right, but like I said, if you've seen a rated R movie, you're all right. Okay. Last thing, proofread your responses. Once you're done, okay, meaning you put that final period on your final answer, now go back and reread your material. Okay. There's a couple ways to do this. One, I use Grammarly a lot. So once you go to Grammarly and you can make an account, it's free. All right. You can set it up to where it integrates into Microsoft Word. Okay. I don't remember how to do this, but if you make an account, it'll show you. It'll show you how to get it into Word. And I use Grammarly. Let me see if it I've already checked this a few times, so I don't know if it'll show my errors. Like I've already cleaned up the errors. All right. So I don't know if it's gonna show any. Yeah. All right. So now in the context I've used the colonists, right? But usually, like before, I cleaned up all this stuff, there are a bunch of errors over here. All right. So Grammarly is good. Okay. Sometimes like things that you use are right the way you use them because of the context. All right. But sometimes, you do want to follow the suggestion. All right. So if you click on this, it just gives you an explanation. Oh, this will work. Okay. So then it changes it for you. All right. And then there's also, if you go home, excuse me, if you go into review. All right. I'm so used to looking at spell check, but it's called editor now. You just click on that. And then there's another strategy, which is really good. Move you guys out of the way. There's another strategy that's pretty good. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to see if it would say it. All right. But you can go read aloud. And in all seriousness, though, this read aloud function is great because it reads your material back exactly how you have it. So maybe you're missing a word, right? But you say it. This is how our brains work. Okay. I'm about to remove a word real quick. Just to use an example. All right. So I'm reading right here. This is just an example. Okay. Let's just say we say use MLA guidelines to set up your paper. This is you're proofreading your stuff back to yourself from the screen. Use MLA guidelines to set up your paper. Okay. So you're reading it back to yourself the way you meant it to read. Meaning you read back what you meant to say instead of what's actually here. Right? Oh, to set up your paper. So if you're using the read aloud function, it'll read it exactly how it is. So that's a good strategy. And then, another one is this, you can just zoom, right? Make it bigger so you can catch everything. All right. But what I'm saying is don't rush to turn your stuff in. Go back over it. Okay, get yourself in the habit of practicing this. Now, here's the thing, here's the reality of it. In school, right? A lot of your teachers are going to say, hey, you got some typos here. Why don't you take this back and clean this up? Or in this class, we're going to do drafts. So it's like, hey, why don't you clean up these errors in your next draft? But now the flip side of that is cover letter, resume, typo in those, you're not getting the job. Okay. If you're writing a transfer essay to go to a 4-year school when you leave here, all right. If you're writing that kind of essay and you got typos in there, your essay just went into file 13. All right. And file 13 is that recycling bin in Microsoft, right? In Windows. All right. So you just made the admissions officer's job easier. All right. So, I don't have to read that. And then if you're writing an essay, like if you're in Comp 1 and you're writing, or Comp 2 and you're writing an essay, you just damage your credibility. Why am I going to believe this person when they don't even go back to proofread? Okay. That doesn't apply to teachers though. When we have typos, teachers get a pass. No. Okay. Even teachers have to proofread. It's just sometimes we don't, to be honest. All right. Well, proofread your responses carefully before submitting your assignments. Please do that. And then upload. Now, If we go into content, let's go into week 2. All right. You can just click on this assignment, reading questions, and that'll take you here. All right. Wait a minute. Okay. Here's the questions themselves. So you click on this. That's your questions. These are your questions. Okay. All right. I need to change the date because they're from last semester. So I will take these down real quick and change the date and put the proper due date on there. But here's the questions, and then there's a couple vocab words at the bottom. Vocab words, you can just, you know, put the actual definition. That's fine. Okay. Do them on a separate sheet of paper, of course. You don't have to, you don't have to. And then when you're done, you're ready to turn them in. I'm just going to turn in anything. All right. Now they're in. Okay. Now they're submitted. Or another way to do that, you can just go to the assignment folder. Click on these. And then just go through the add a file, submit. So this is a long way. And then if you turn it in from the content, that's kind of the shortcut. All right. But either way, get them into that folder. Okay. And if you need that tutorial on how to upload your assignments, it's right here. Upload. It's just a video. And this one works too. All right. Now, okay, last couple of things before I let you go. So now here's our assignments for this short week. First thing, reading. Okay. Pages 1 through, actually, now let me back it up. The first thing, there's a quiz about active reading. All right. And
you want us to take that first?
Say it again.
You want us to take the active reading first?
Yes. Okay. Actually, you can do these in whatever order you want, as long as you do them by the 24th. All right. I'm just kind of giving you, say what now?
I was just saying, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was giving you the rundown of what's due. All right. But this active reading quiz, based on the PowerPoint that we just saw. And then here's another PDF that supplements it, but you can find most, if not all, of what we're looking for right here. Then there's a discussion question. Now you're going to have to do the reading before you answer this discussion question, but you just click on this and you answer right in the forum. Okay. Again, just like you introduced yourself, you just want to go start new thread and then put your response there. Okay. So we're up to 2 assignments. The quiz and the discussion question. Here's assignment number 3. Reading questions 1. Okay. Again, click on this. And here are the questions right here. Ignore this. This is an assignment I just turned in. Okay. The questions are right here. And when you're done, you can just go upload, find them. I'm just going to put something else in here. And then submit. And once you do that, they're already turned in. All right. And then there's a 4th assignment. 4th assignment is done via Inquisitive. Am I signed in? Yes. Okay. So your next assignment, sentence fragments. Okay. So that's that, folks. Take the quiz. Respond in the discussion forum. Do your reading, answer the reading questions, and then do this Inquisitive assignment. I'm gonna recap all this on D2L in a message, just as a refresher. But that's all I got today, good people.
Professor Norwood,
Yes.
Is there a direct link to Inquisitive? Because I was struggling trying to find my way back there last week.
Yeah. Okay. There is not right now, but I'll add one. All right, and to get to Inquisitive, I'll add this to our D2L page, or I'll make a module for it. But to get there, all right, you can just paste this link. Okay. And then it takes you here. All right. But I'll make a module for Inquisitive, but here's our link. All right. And if you need to set up your account, do that ASAP. Again, our student, or it's going to ask, our course ID is 422814. If you haven't made an account already. Any other questions, my good people?
Nope, not for me.
Okay. That's all I got, good people. Let me stop this. Oh, yeah. So about the recording, it's gonna take about 20 to 30 minutes to get it converted. So once it's done converting, I will get it up.